Good morning and welcome to Inside Cottonwood. I'm your host today, Richard Faust, Community Services General Manager for the City of Cottonwood. We're coming up on springtime, and of course all kinds of things going on in springtime, especially with Parks and Recreation and the Rec Center and all of our outdoor activities. So we get all prepared, and as we look forward to it, it's the Brian Mickelsen Memorial. And with that comes a lot to do with run race events, and as we memorialize an individual who was my boss and mentor, as well as a good friend of mine for many years, from 1990 all the way through to his passing in 2007. Pardon me. And I'm really blessed to have Joseph Rongo on board with us here today. Joe, it's good to have you here. We'll talk a little bit about both you and your wife Jamie, your circumstances here in just a little bit, but also a little bit more about how you and Brian kind of grew together as well, and those days long ago, but they still are very heartfelt within our hearts. So we'll be talking about that. Ryan, it's good to have you on here as well. Ryan Bigelow, he's our Recreation Services Supervisor with the Recreation Center here in Cottonwood. And Ryan runs the program there, so it's good to have you here as well as we talk about Brian, and we talk about the Mickelsen Memorial and the marathon and the run race events and everything else. So I'm going to kind of go into a little bit of background here because, again, like I said, Brian was near and dear to my heart. Brian, my boss and city manager of Cottonwood, he was an avid runner. He was a cyclist, hockey player, soccer coach. We'll get into that too. Friend and wonderful, loving husband and immersed father into his son's lives, as well as the lives of others. Brian loved his staff and was quite a guy. He passed away in August of 2007 on a training run just north of Cottonwood on an early Sunday morning. Brian actually had 4 passions that were reflected as his internal compass, and I always like to emulate those even today with Brian. But his wife, his children, his love for running and physical activity, which were a way of life for him. His intense love for Cottonwood, the Verde Valley, was just incredible. There was an immense passion for him. And with that forward, I'll launch into our first segment of our program today. And Joe, you're the co-founder with your wife, Jamie, and curriculum directors and directors of teacher training for ACES, Massage Education of the Arizona School of Integrated Studies. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. I'll give you some time to tell us what that is. Ryan, again, you're kind of a sports enthusiast. Actually, I'm going to say you are a sports enthusiast.
Absolutely.
You love health, wellness, and you are an active runner, and you take part in that regularly. I see you come back sweating, and so that's a great thing. And you're an active father of 3 with your wife, Allie, and so you guys both are active fathers of 3. So it's good to have you here. So you both have active lifestyles, and that's one of the things that we, with the Cottonwood Recreation Center and our Recreation Department, we have as our vision statement as well as our mission statement. It's part of who we are. Ryan, I want to talk with you real quick here as we delve into the race aspect of this event. What can you tell us about the series of run programs that the City of Cottonwood offers on April 8th? Because it's April 8th this year.
It's coming up, yeah, Saturday, April 8th. You say active lifestyles. We want to be able to promote an event for everybody, running or walking. So we have 4 races, all of different distances. We have a full marathon. Trust me, it's not for everybody. We have a half marathon, which is a little more tolerable, a 10K, just over 6 miles, and then a 2-mile run walk too. So we definitely like to promote there is something, you don't have to be an avid runner to participate. If it's just to get you out and about, it's a good thing. So a run for everybody.
So what does one get for registering for the marathon as well as the memorial and all of the events?
It's kind of a neat deal because in the end, you register and you'll end up with a T-shirt. You'll end up with a little baggie of little goodies that we have. A lot of that stuff we try to promote the Verde Valley with, expose some of the businesses that we have here, try to encourage people who are coming from out of town to come back to our town.
Right.
It's part of that philosophy too. And then we're adding medals. Everybody, including 2-milers, will get a medal this year. So that's kind of nice. So everybody kind of feels like a champion at the end. Just crossing the finish line is a big accomplishment, and we want to celebrate that.
Yeah, you get something for when you come on
Sure.
board, so that's great. So tell our viewers, what will they experience while running these courses? Because the beauty of Sycamore Canyon is part of the element that we have within the marathon and running through Old Town, et cetera, which is kind of a vibrant little area all of its own, so it's kind of cool. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I vaguely remember now, it was so long ago, but you know, 10 years ago now, we started talking about how this course was going to play out and how we were going to run a half marathon through Cottonwood, and to celebrate all that Cottonwood has to offer. And you know, when we created this route, we tried to get a lot of the high points of the Verde Valley. That includes Old Town Cottonwood, that includes Tuzagoot National Monument, Sycamore Canyon. You know, you think of Sedona and the Red Rocks, man, Sycamore Canyon has that Red Rock view, and it's gorgeous out there. So we go through Dead Horse Ranch State Park pretty thoroughly through there, and the ponds that they have there, you know, the water, the trees, and then back into Riverfront Park. So all 4 of our events start and end at Riverfront Park. We obviously are very proud of what happens there at Riverfront, but we expose a lot of what the Verde Valley has to offer.
So while you're running, take a look at your surroundings.
And I know how hard that is.
It's really difficult.
I got to get over this hill. But if you pause for a second and just take a couple deep breaths and look around, it's pretty spectacular.
And that's the reason why to come back as well, because you know you got to take a look at, you know, this country here. It's just gorgeous. It's some of the most beautiful country in the state of Arizona, and we're smack dab in the middle of the state, so it's really cool. Now, 2017 is our 9th year that we have held the Brian Mickelsen Marathon and Half Marathon event. Can you tell us how the event has evolved?
Well, I'm wearing the shirt today for the 4th annual in 2012. That's what the year we added a marathon, so that was kind of a big deal for us. But you know, we've had various technologies. I remember the first time it was the Verde Mingus blowout. You know, we were pulling people's tags off of their bibs and just had a stopwatch, a large stopwatch essentially, kind of telling everybody what time it was. Now we've evolved to chip timing, where you just put a bib on and the computer tells you exactly what your time is, and you can look it up instantaneously. So those things, you know, the shirts have evolved. One thing I do like though is the logo has stayed true and stayed the same. So you know, when you go around town, you know, it's very evident that this is a Cottonwood race. So we like that. Medals, shirts, timing, it's all evolved, but in essence, it's stayed very true to I hope, and been a good thing for Cottonwood and a good memorial event for Brian.
I agree, and I think that's one thing. I know everything is going up on the screen there. You can see it. And one thing about, I can remember Brian down there, you know, running, you know, some of the races, especially when we had the 10K 2 mile with the Verde Mingus blowout. And I think we started that in 1992, which was, it's been too long ago. I don't even want to. Yeah, so Brian was always intricately involved in almost every Parks and Recreation program we did. And so it really does. I really believe that we maintain that consistency of Brian's spirit. So that's kind of a neat thing. So now, any big changes that are specific to this event this year?
You know, that we have stayed consistent. We've stayed true. We're still USATF certified, so it's a Boston Marathon qualifier. I like to say that. Want to note that there's a new website for the Brian Mickelsen this year, and for the city of Cottonwood in general, but we have our own domain name. bmmcw.org is where you can find all that information. bmmcwcottonwood.org. That's a big change for us. And Yavapai County Search and Rescue, they're going to get involved this year with a pasta feed prior to the event. So Yavapai County Search and Rescue were the folks who actually went out and searched for Brian, and they've been an integral part of this event since. So they're going to get hands-on and help us with a little pasta feed this year.
Well, there you go. There's bmmcw.org on your screen. So take a look at that. Now, how many, real quick here before we close this segment here of the morning, how many runners do you expect?
We were hoping for at least 550. We've been pretty consistent the last 4 years of registrations and participants. So if we can hit 550 folks, we'll be very happy.
That's great. Well, we're going to take a 1-minute break here, and we'll rejoin both of these gentlemen. We're going to be talking a little bit more with Joseph as it pertains to his background, as well as his intricate involvement in Brian's life and Brian's and his family. So come on back to our second segment. I'm Richard Faust, Community Services General Manager for the City of Cottonwood.
The Q102.9 plays all the hits.
Yo, what's going on? This is Drizzy Drake.
Ariana Grande.
Maroon 5.
This is Rihanna.
I'm Shawn Mendes.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
Ed Sheeran.
What's up, guys? It's Justin Bieber.
You're listening to The Weeknd.
Start your day with Brian James in the morning. You'll get at least 10 songs in a row during your ride home with Julie Page.
Zach Sang Show.
Catch the Zach Sang Show weeknights 7 to midnight. And Kelly Fox weekends on your home for hit music. The Q102.9 and 104.9 in Prescott and Cottonwood.
Stand with me. Be drug-free.
Stand with me. Be drug-free.
To make a difference, we must stand together. Stand with me. Be drug-free. Supporting our families and listening to our teens.
Stand with me. Be drug-free.
Stand with me. Be drug-free.
We are all one. No one is immune.
Stand with me. Be drug-free.
Let's stand together for a healthier community.
Stand with me. Be drug-free.
Welcome back to Inside Cottonwood. I'm your host, Richard Faust, Community Services General Manager for the City of Cottonwood. Today we're basically going over the Brian Mickelsen Memorial and the programs associated with it. It's just a great time. Make sure that you mark it on your calendars for April 8th, and we'll be going over a little bit more here in our third segment with Ryan Bigelow and talking to him about what all is involved there, but I really want to get into a little bit more. Joseph Rongo is a man I've known for a long time as well, so we go back together, especially soccer season, and I'm going to bring that out because soccer was kind of an intricate part of Brian. You were an assistant coach as well as coach with Brian. I was as well for 2 years, so it was just kind of one of those things both of us have in common. I guess what I'd like you to do is, can you tell us a little bit about your background? I have here that Joseph and Jamie are co-founders, curriculum directors, and directors of teaching, training for ACES Massage Education. You both met after completing your education at the U of A. And a great school. I've got two good friends that went to U of A, so I'm a U of A fan. They received their initial massage training at Florida School of Massage in Gainesville. Their energetic and creative style of living is reflected throughout their work in both the classroom and the business world. Together, in partnership with the ACES staff, they envision massage therapy education and practice to be concrete steps towards self-empowerment and world peace. I think that's cool. Joseph and Jamie are parents to three wonderful, as we said, individual children, and as family they live in their hand-built home overlooking the Verde River in Clarkdale, Arizona. Now ACES has campus facilities in Prescott, Flagstaff, Tucson, and Mesa. And I want you to take off from there and tell us a little bit about ACES. And
when Jamie and I were planning our return back to Arizona, we do all the state board work. And I remember at our final hearing, they're approving our Department of Education approval. And the board member, one of the board members said, why Cottonwood? Like, that doesn't seem like a place a business is going to take off. Why not Phoenix? And we're like, why would I want to live in Phoenix?
Yeah, that's right.
And then they countered, and I don't want to offend anybody here, but they countered with, well, Sedona might make more sense than Cottonwood.
Sure.
It's like, but I don't want to live there either. There's something about Cottonwood that felt easy. Easy to live. It's where we wanted to raise the children.
That's right.
It was very comfortable, and it was a fabulous place to raise the children. So I'm appreciative of having, we're now here 22, 23 years in the Verde Valley. When you mentioned the four parts about Brian and his love for Cottonwood, there was always a cherry on top of Cottonwood, which was Old Town.
Yes.
And I cannot go through Old Town without thinking of Brian.
Exactly.
And just I don't, just the change, the transformation it's made is pretty spectacular. And I could only imagine, if there's something going on after this existence, that he's smiling on it.
Yes.
Right, because it all looks
That's right.
pretty positive. From me living here, it looks like a very positive experience of what's going on in Old Town.
Yes.
Last night we were in Bocce's, my wife and I, and we were talking about this, what's going on here. And she's like, I just can't not well up in tears when I think about Brian. There's just the love.
Yes.
It was easy to love that man.
Oh, it was very
easy to love that man.
Yes.
So, yeah, so ASIS, when we opened up in Cottonwood, we were the only school north of Phoenix, south of Denver, in a big regional area. And since then, there's like 400% increase in massage schools around the country.
That's awesome.
So we actually recently closed the Clarkdale Verde Valley campus because the destination school concept kind of has died around 2008. So there's so many to choose from. People are staying local. So we moved the Verde campus to Mesa. So essentially it was a move of campus.
Right.
But it's interesting having schools around the state and kind of customizing our advertisement, our product, because each of these towns are different. Prescott and Flag are completely different towns, even though they're so close. And
that's it.
So that's one of our constant, what would appeal to a Flag crowd versus what would appeal to a Mesa crowd?
You're right. I mean, it is. They're very distinct and they have their own character. So it's kind of interesting to see. So you got to evolve into those circumstances with your business.
Exactly.
That's very true.
It's pretty.
I think it's
keeps
awesome.
us on our toes.
I think it's just awesome, after all of these years, that I've known you and your family in that context of things. And I know our children grow up, and you were just indicating that your daughter is set to graduate from U of A as well. And so now, as it pertains to ACES, now from what I read, also there's Maryland is connected into there as well.
We Jamie and I, we were founders, and in 2012, prior to us opening ASIS, friends of ours opened up schools in New York State, and we had helped them. So that process made us like, yeah, we're going to do it. Go back home to Arizona, and we're going to do this. And in 2012, the fellow who bought our friend's school in New York bought the majority share of ASIS. So Jamie and I are just partial minority shareholders at this point.
Gotcha.
And we're getting ready to revamp some things where my focus is, as curriculum director, we're starting to interface all the schools, and we're ready for another leap in growth in what we offer. We're going to be offering more fitness programs as well as healthcare. And the investment plan is to expand into other states too. So I'm getting good at understanding state law and what's required and accreditation and federal government requirements. And so mostly at this point I'm like a bureaucrat more than anything, just like researching how do we do all this. And it's like, back tie into Brian, there was something about that due diligence that he was just so good at, that where I was always more like, woo, yeah, we can do this. Brian like planned it out. It's like, okay, how do I do that now?
Yes. So, yeah, that's what he taught me too. So you're not the only one.
That piece about stopping to see the view while you're running.
Yes.
Brian and I have stood on soccer fields, at least 50 different soccer fields, and we always took the time to look around like, oh my goodness, is this a beautiful day to spend the Saturday or what? Like, there's Durango Mountain from this view, or the superstitions from this view. Wherever we were traveling, because we did travel soccer, it was like we always took the time to just marvel at, look at us, we get to spend our Saturday here.
Right. So. Well, and as we talk about that, I know, I can sit there and I can talk about my daughter and soccer club and going to Durango and Red Mountain and all over Phoenix, and then wherever you guys went, I think we were there as well. But this and talking about your relationship with Brian and coaching with Brian and your soccer trips that led families to Durango, can you tell us what ideas might have come out of those trips?
Yeah.
I want you to get into that.
There was every trip to Durango included a little bit of time at the rec center.
That's right.
Because that Durango rec center, just something about it took Brian, and he he needed one of those in Cottonwood for the youth of Cottonwood. And my wife was just reminding me of back to that Brian due diligence. It was the senior center, which, and I would argue with him like, the youth are more important, Brian. He's like, yes, but if we do the senior center first, it'll open the door more easily for the rec center. And he was so meticulous in the detail, and then the being able to negotiate a working. I think we politically and everything else, we need to learn from that ability to negotiate. Because the pool was in, the pool was out, and Brian was just always able to create win-wins.
He was. He definitely was. So now, Brian was certainly involved in everything, and what are some of your favorite memories of him as a coach?
So you probably have personal stories about him at work, and there was one thing about Brian was always like cool, calm, and collected. Except sometimes on the soccer field. So that was the place where like this other piece of Brian
I'm glad you got into that.
It's like, whoa, was that you?
Where'd that come from? That's true. Yeah, and I think that I did see that. There were a couple of times, and it was rather interesting. So, but most of the time, he was cool, calm, and collected. And like you said, as a planner, he was so organized and so efficient in what he did. And he taught so much to all of us in that same respect, very similar to you, myself. So many of us were mentored by Brian, and I don't think he even realized it.
And he had that memory too, right?
He
so
did.
He didn't even need to write it all down. Like he just, he was able to download stuff. That was always a
really
lovely
was.
thing to see.
So you're now, I think as the co-founder of ACES Massage Education, as stated at the beginning of the segment, can you tell us about ACES and how ACES has been involved with the Brian Mickelsen Marathon?
Well, when the path got designed of the course, we were right on the path. So of course how can we help? Because our building in right at that border of Cottonwood and Clarkdale. And Brian was intricate in helping out with that building, kind of directing me towards some planning and zoning stuff. But then also, him and his kids and me and my kids on the roof, screwing in roofs. So Brian was on kind of there through the whole process of building that building. So it felt very natural that we always had a water table out there and organizing students to do massages. And this is actually we closed up last March, so this will be our second race that we don't have students in the area. So I'm sending out emails with Ryan's email contact, like, hey, who wants to do some massages? Yes. Contact Ryan. So hopefully we can gather up some alumni and ex-teachers from the area
That'd be awesome.
to offer massage.
I appreciate that, Joe. Well, we're going to take another break here as we close our second segment. We'll be moving into the third segment a little bit more as it pertains to actually the race information, and I really appreciate Joe being here, so thanks again, Joe. I'm your host today, Richard Faust, Community Services General Manager for the City of Cottonwood.
The Q102.9 plays all the hits.
Yo, what's going on? This is Drizzy Drake.
Ariana Grande.
Maroon 5. This is Rihanna.
I'm Shawn Mendes.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars. Ed Sheeran.
What's up, guys? It's Justin Bieber. You're listening to The Weeknd.
Start your day with Brian James in the morning. You'll get at least 10 songs in a row during your ride home with Julie Page.
Zach Sang Show.
Catch the Zach Sang Show weeknights 7 to midnight. And Kelly Fox weekends on your home for hit music. The Q102.9 and 104.9 in Prescott and Cottonwood.
Welcome back for our third and final segment of Inside Cottonwood. I'm Richard Faust, Community Services General Manager for the City of Cottonwood. I'm really blessed to have both Ryan here today as well as Joe. My voice is kind of carrying low, and got allergies, so hang in there with me, and we'll make it through this. Joe has just been really such a blessing in the context of he was so intricately involved. So it was really kind of neat to hear. I know he's got a lot more stories. I've got some too, but we're going to go into a little bit more of the Brian Mickelsen Memorial and the marathon events here real quick. So Ryan, what do you like most about the BMM, and what is your primary involvement behind the scenes?
So what do I like most? I really enjoy the courses and the variety that we offer. I really enjoy the fact that what we're doing from the Parks and Recreation standpoint is promoting that balanced lifestyle, that it can't all be just work and no play. We want to encourage physical activity and community and community engagement. So that's my favorite part about the Brian Mickelsen, is seeing all the folks come together, see them talk about it, see them compare notes after the race. Oh man, that hill, that was crazy, or and then they talk about it year round, and then they do it again next year.
They do. That's true. And so what are, we're about a month away. So what can people do to get involved if they're not runners but want to contribute their time? Who do they see? Who do they talk to?
Yeah, we're always looking for volunteers for this event. We have 14 water stations now. So we look for up to 100 volunteers every single year.
We need you. Yeah.
There's a lot of groups and organizations that get involved. The community aspect, the people step right up, especially you put a name like Brian Mickelsen to an event. It seems to bring out the best in people, and they want to step up. So they can always contact me. I want to direct people back to that website, bmmcw.org. My contact information will be on there. They can call the Cottonwood Recreation Center. That's always a good resource. So either way, we'd love to hear from you. If you don't feel like you can run it or walk it, you can still be involved. We still have plenty of water stations, handing out bags, handing out medals, anything. If you want to be involved, we can find a spot for you.
Yeah, and Ryan Nichols is doing a great job there with Yavapai Broadcast as he puts everything up on the screen there for us, so we appreciate that as well. Now, when is the registration?
Ongoing.
Ongoing.
You can register online now or at the Cottonwood Recreation Center, either way. So encourage people to do that.
So the date and the time of the events throughout the day?
Saturday, April 8th, and marathon kicks off at 6 a.m. Not a big deal for those early birds. They like to run early. Half marathon 7:30, 10K 7:40, and 2 mile right after that at 7:50. So we just start pumping them out there.
So when do they pick up their bags?
They can do that Friday. The Friday before, we'll have a bag, bib, T-shirt pickup.
There you go.
At the Cottonwood Recreation Center, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's also where the pasta feed happens. So if you get some food in your belly. Or the day of the race too. That's always an option too. The day of the race, sometimes it's nice for folks to get that part out of the way the day before, and one less thing to worry about morning of.
That sounds good. Now, who are the sponsors? Do we have specific sponsors?
Yeah, Taylor and Huntley. I want to make sure that they stepped up this year. Lynn Mickelsen hooked us up with that sponsorship, and they're going to help us supply the banners that are going to be over Main Street. So we're going to advertise the event that way. And Northern Arizona Healthcare Foundation, they're always involved, and Tire Care is always involved, and definitely the Chamber of Commerce, and of course the City of Cottonwood.
So if we also need to know, okay, I know that it's up on the screen there. Now, what are the individual groups and categories for the run race?
Sure, yeah. If you run, you're going to be kind of grouped into an age division, if you will. I know that's part of the part of the appeal of doing a race like this is you kind of get to see who else is out there in my age and how you're doing in comparison. So about every 5 years, I think we do a 12 and under. 12 to 18, and then about every 5 years or so, we'll hand out individual awards. So not only does every finisher get a medal, but then we also do a little award ceremony afterwards for those top 3 finishers, both male and female.
And what is the ultimate goal then of the BMM? Just explain that real quick.
Yeah, it's definitely health and wellness. It's life balance. It's don't just make it a workout, make it a lifestyle type stuff. It is something that you can train for a week in advance or a year in advance. It is something that we want to promote. Our whole department, these are types of programs that we do to make sure that people have a high quality of life, that they have balance in their life, and that they can find programs, things to do for them and their entire family.
Joe, I think one thing Brian taught us also is I think treating people with dignity and respect, make that a lifestyle.
Exactly.
Can you add anything more to that with Brian?
Let's see. Dignity, respect, and also being willing to take chances
There you go.
and
He did.
to stretch your envelope.
There you
stretch
go.
your envelope.
Thank you.
I had mentioned to you earlier that we were 40 years old, my wife and I, when Brian taught us to ski for the first time, and then subsequently, he had taken my kids skiing. We have a lot of hours on the slopes with Brian and Lynn.
Yeah.
So that always just like living life to the fullest.
I think that was a lot of it.
Being kind, being supportive.
Yes.
Always just very supportive.
And I think that was one of the things that Brian was very good at, is telling us is that, each day is a new day, and make it what you can. So, this race does mean an awful lot in the context of preserving that memory that Brian was an incredible guy. And he leaves behind his family, but he's got some incredible young men as his sons, his wife, Lynn, and so we just want to, again, let everybody know what an incredible opportunity this is for you, even to just come out if you want to get involved, if you don't have to run the race or anything else, but just get involved. And Joe, it's my pleasure to have you on board here, so thank you very much, and so it's my honor. Ryan, thank you for your time as well as we close out our third and final segment for Looking Good, Inside Cottonwood. I kind of get that confused, sorry about that. But Inside Cottonwood, and enjoy your day. Have a good one, and join us again for the next month as we prepare for another Inside Cottonwood story, and enjoy again. I'm your host, Richard Faust, Community Services General Manager for the City of Cottonwood.